Welcome to Kids Career Quest. Today we're talking with Gilda Ragsdale, a senior zookeeper at the Orange County Zoo, a special zoo located inside Irvine Regional Park that cares for animals native to California like mountain lions, black bears, eagles, and coyotes. Zookeepers play a huge role in keeping animals healthy, safe, and active. They also help people learn about wildlife and conservation. Their job is full of challenges and exciting moments. Let's meet our guests and learn what it's really like to work with animals every day. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So to start us off, what made you want to become a zookeeper, and when did your love for animals begin?
My love for animals was as long as I can remember, at a very, very young age. We actually did not have any pets, but my mother would always, feed birds and take care of some of the cats in the neighborhood. And so I loved animals since I can remember. The first thing I wanted to do is actually be a veterinarian when I was really young. But as I got older, maybe in my teens, going to zoos, then that's when I knew zookeeping was for me.
Our second question is, what does a normal day at the OC Zoo look like for you?
Very, very busy. And that doesn't include if we have a lot of people coming in and taking care of animals. It's a lot of work, which a lot of people don't know. So besides your feeding and lots of cleaning, you're also medicating some animals, you're doing animal training, you're doing enrichment, which is a big part of zookeeping. You're cleaning your areas, you're cleaning outside areas, you're talking with guests, you're out there with the public, and you're note-taking. Everything's recorded for future reference. So very busy. Zookeeping is definitely one of those things that you will not get bored at your job.
To add on, is there any animal that you as a zookeeper care for that people have common misconceptions towards?
Yeah, definitely. I have to say the main animal that I love to talk about, because a lot of people don't know much about, but yet is a very common animal, especially here in California, coyotes. Coyotes are definitely an animal that, even though they're everywhere, people don't realize how special they are. You have to see the coyote as an animal that is 100% adaptable. The coyote will adapt to any environment. You'll find them in any environment. One of the very few animals that's learned to adapt around humans. I'll tell people, if more animals were like coyotes, we wouldn't have so many extinct animals. They've learned to adapt around us. And unfortunately, the only view or knowledge that people have with coyotes is it's going to eat my pet, it's going to hurt my child. Sure, if we're not careful, but these guys are just, they're just surviving. They don't see humans as food. Coyotes are omnivores, so they will eat vegetation too. They'll eat fruits that they find, and any type of small mammal they could take. So just as much as they've learned to live around us, I tell people we have to learn to live around them too.
That's great to hear, because there's a lot of misconceptions about coyotes, especially in the neighborhoods, that they're dangerous. And so it's great to hear that. Moving on, besides feeding animals, what are some important things you do to care for them on a daily basis?
Oh my goodness, so many things. So one of the big things is enrichment. Obviously out in the wild, animals are very, very busy looking for food, looking for shelter. Here, they have both of those things given to them. So enrichment, which means, even though sometimes it might just look like a playful thing, a ball, a toy, it's also using a lot of their natural characteristics that they would naturally use, and be creative. So the keepers have to be very creative to keep the animals entertained. Everything's important. The cleaning, it's good for their health. It doesn't just make the place look clean, but it's good for their health. So there's a lot of important aspects in zookeeping. Some animals require medication, if they're sick, or they're older animals. supplements to make them more comfortable. So yeah, there's a lot of little things.
So speaking of caring for the animals, when you have an animal that's again sick or injured, what does the procedure kind of look like when they need help?
So of course, there's going to be so many different scenarios. Let's say it's just a simple injury. That's again observation from the keepers, which is one of the many things that keepers have to be, good at, observation. A lot of animals, it's their nature to hide if they're sick or something is wrong. So they'll try to keep it from you. Like they won't show pain right away. They won't show, unless it's obvious, a cut. So observation. If the keeper is able, with the training that the keeper has done with this animal, if the keeper is able to get a good look at the injury or know what the sickness is. And then if it is something that we could take care of right there, right away, just the keeper himself or herself, or is it something where we have to call the veterinarian and the veterinarian has to come and help us with the animal?
And moving on to another sort of stigma around zoos, how do you keep both animals and visitors safe at the zoo when interacting with each other?
That's very good. Zoos have definitely come a long way. So safety is one of the main things that we train for. Besides the exhibits, the enclosures where the animals are at, where everything's already thought up for the health of the animal and safety. So you're thinking of what the animal needs, but also safety-wise. When it comes to moving animals from one space to another, there's always training involved. There's always protocols that we train. And we do practice for animal escapes, and you hope it never happens, but we do practice for animal escapes and what to do with the guest and what to do with the animal. So everything, and especially all your zoos, will have all these things in place and training with your keepers and the entire staff, not just the keepers.
So earlier you mentioned that zookeepers are very good at observation, and I'm sure another trait would be compassion. So what kind of skills or personality traits are you looking for in an ideal zookeeper?
Oh my goodness. I have to say, a lot of people obviously love animals. A lot of people love animals, and obviously I understand that. But zookeeping is very physical. And it can get very emotional too. You get attached to these animals. So I would have to say, somebody who loves moving, somebody that loves being outdoors, and just you have to be strong to deal with the emotions in this field. All of a sudden, all these animals become your family. You get attached to them. And, since we're all animal lovers, so we get attached to them. And guess what? These animals don't live as long as we do. So I've had to say, goodbye to a lot of animals, and it sticks to you. It sticks with you.
On this sort of sentimental note, if you could teach kids one lesson that animals have taught you while training them or even parting with them, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. Everybody should know, even if you are not an animal enthusiast, even if you're not into animals, every person should know these animals do have feelings. These animals do have their personalities, just like people do. And if you do, you get to know them, you'll see that. Just like when you get to know a person, you see how they're all different. So just knowing that they have their own personalities, just knowing that they do really pay attention to us. We have to respect them. Just like you would respect any living being. Again, even if you're not into animals, we're not all into the same things, right? But when it comes to animals, they're part of our world. So respect. Just respect. It's okay if you're not into animals, but just know and have that respect of living. They're living around us.
And for our last question, what's one piece of advice you would give a kid who wants to be like you one day and work with animals?
The one thing I do get this question quite a bit, and I think is very important. If you want to be a zookeeper, or you think you want to be a zookeeper, obviously you love animals. Volunteer. Start volunteering at as young as you could volunteer. I know depending on the facilities, the age requirements are different. But start volunteering so you could know what it is, so you could know what you're looking at. And even at during volunteering, even if you don't end up being a zookeeper, it might be something else that's also animal related. But volunteering definitely gets a closer look at what the animal field is all about.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us a look into the amazing work you do at the OC Zoo. It was great to hear how zookeepers care for animals, help the environment, and teach others about wildlife. So we hope your story inspires kids watching to follow their interests. And thanks again for being part of Kids Career Quest.